My mummy and daddy met when they were teaching in Ballycastle Crossing Passion School at the end of the 1950s. Mummy was Mary Bogan at that stage. She lived in Omagh. Daddy's name was Ignatius O'Connell and he was from Crossgar. And Mummy went on to teach art in Dominican College, Fort William. Daddy was the principal of St Augustine's on the Ravenhill Road, and he then moved into St Joseph's Teacher Training College in Andersonstown. As life went on, Daddy developed Alzheimer's and life changed drastically. Life was very difficult some days and it was very good other days. Mummy was his soulmate and the two of them just ticked along together. You never saw one without the other and they just adored each other. I wish we all had the love that they had, because nothing was ever too much for any of them to do for each other.
They're originally from the Shankill. My dad was from the Lower Shankill and my mum was say she's from the Woodvale, not the Shankill. They met at a dance hall. They were, as I say, they were always together. They'd done everything together, but they did fight. They fought quite a lot. My mum was very, very fiery temper, whereas my dad was very laid back, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Easy going.
He very, very easy going, whereas my mum was the opposite. My mum was the one that kind of kept everything together. You know, if she made a decision, that was it. There was she didn't do it tomorrow or whatever. She'd done it. It was finalised. It was done.
Janice myself would have went up every Thursday to see me and Harry. And your mum used to say, I've already cooked dinner, but she hadn't cooked dinner at all.
Yeah, with the dementia.
But she always waited for us to come up and have dinner. And there was a lot of good memories with your mum and dad.
Yeah.
Mummy and daddy came down to stay with me in Randallstown because I work as a community midwife, and I was aware, as was everybody, that COVID had reached Ireland and I wanted to keep them safe rather than carers who were absolutely fabulous. Carers coming in and out in Belfast to see them. I wanted to keep them nestled in with me so that I knew that there wasn't a whole array of professionals coming in. They came down to Randallstown with me and then Daddy got very sick. His breathing deteriorated and I phoned our GP up here and she advised me to get the two of them back up to Belfast where there was a mobile COVID unit in place. And my best friend and her husband helped my son and I carry Daddy and Mummy into the car because at this stage they were so ill. We didn't even realise it at this stage.
We found out my mum had tested positive a few days after the pandemic started. And we weren't too worried about my dad because of just the Parkinson's. That was just all that he had, the ailments he had. And then about 24 hours after that, we found out my dad tested positive. We'd spent some time with my mum and knew looking at her that she wasn't gonna survive. My dad was kind of still lucid. He kind of still knew what was happening, but he deteriorated quite quickly. The care home itself, once it hit the care home, there was something like maybe 20 rooms in the care home, and out of the 20 rooms there was 12 residents, just literally one after another passed.
Daddy got very sick. He couldn't breathe. He subsequently passed away on the 14th of April at 7 o'clock in the morning, and Mummy was in a bed beside him, but she was unaware of what was going on, and her disease trajectory was probably exactly the same as Daddy's, but it was about 3 days later. Every symptom he got, she got it 3 days later, and 3 days later Mummy died of the same thing, 17th of April at 6 o'clock at night. And it was the hardest thing ever to watch.
We got the phone call on the early morning to say that she'd passed, and we were able to go and see her. We were able to spend time with her. Popped in, we were both in the same care home, so we popped in to see my dad. And again, he was still quite lucid. He knew we were there. He was able to communicate with us. Stayed with him for quite a bit, and then we thought it's time to go. It was 2:00 in the morning. He was sleeping, and we thought it's just time to go now. We'll leave him. So we got home, and about an hour later we got a phone call to say you need to come back up again. Your dad's. But by the time we got, he'd passed. So that was on the 23rd. So Mum was on the 22nd. My dad was on the 23rd.
Me and Harry were together through their whole lives. No, you wouldn't have seen one without seeing the other one. When they were ill, they were together, and sadly, yes, they did die together. But to have two hearses driving side by side, up the Sydenham bypass to Roselawn Cemetery. Then when we got to Roselawn Cemetery, we weren't allowed to go any further, because the two hearses stopped at the gates. We said our goodbyes, and then the hearses were taken to the crematorium, and that was it. That was the last we seen of me and Harry.
When the school gates closed in June, we all piled into the two wee bone shaker cars and off to Donegal we went for the whole summer. And we came back the last day of August, just in time for school to start. Everything that was good about Anya's in my life always happened up there. I remember one day driving Mummy and Daddy along in the car, and we just happened to be passing the chapel, and I said to Daddy, "Now Daddy, where am I going to bury you?" And he says, "Just over that wall, bro. Just over that wall." And I said to Mummy, "And where are we going to bury you?" And she says, "Well, I suppose you may put me in with him." God, I'm sure they didn't think they'd be going in the same day. But there you go. I don't think they could have lived without each other. They just lived for each other.